What's up, y'all? Welcome to, finally, the announcement for the 2020, 2021, and 2022 Golden Elephant Awards. It's been a long time coming. Let's face it. We had a pandemic in the way and then other stuff out of our control, and we're finally here. So, yay. Hey, we're very excited. Now, a bunch of things, honestly. I'm just going to talk here for a little bit, so I apologize. I beg your grace for this. Obviously, it's been a long time coming. Now, normally, we announce the finalists for the previous year in April, but, well, we're still recovering from everything and playing catch-up, honestly. And as much as we want to play every possible game that could possibly be nominated for the Golden Elephant Award, it's impossible. I mean, I don't care who you are. Not even the Dice Tower that has 7,000 different people. They're not able to. Now, granted, ours is a smaller niche, but even so, we do our best. And so we took it down to as far as we could, as long as we could, to be able to get as many of the games played. But honestly, still things fall through the cracks, and that's terrible, but it's the reality of life. Because if you look back in years past, we didn't get a chance to do that every year then either. But we did our very, very best. There were 9 people on the panel this year, and there was some very, very spirited, polite, but spirited discussion about how we all individually made our lists. There was no preset number of how many games that should be finalists, and you're going to actually see that as we go through these because of the fact that there are different numbers throughout the years. That is the case. Some years there are fewer, some years there are more. Just the nature of the beast. Some years are, let's be honest, some years are stronger than others. So we all individually made our lists, and then we posted them or discussed them on a Zoom call, and it was a spirited discussion. And there were some obvious ones, and then there were ones that people had to go to fight for. And there was some really, really good conversation that went on with that. And this is where we settled. So I think the best way to do this is first off talk about the criteria, all right? So if you go to the heavycardboard.com website and go to the Golden Elephant Award, you'll actually see, let me go ahead and figure out where I did that, right there. You will see the Golden Elephant Award right there, the 2018 award for Brass Birmingham. That is the physical award that we hand out to the winner. And yeah. But for the criteria, so the Golden Elephant Award, I'm just reading from the website, is the annual award handed out to the most outstanding board game of the year from the heavy gamer's perspective as voted upon by Heavy Cardboard. So, us. The criteria used to judge each game is as follows. Depth of analysis and planning. What considerations must be taken into account to make the right decisions, right? So the decision matrix. So are there enough of them, and are they meaningful? The depth of the gameplay. A game doesn't have to be complex, but it should require solid analysis during play to play well. Then the game length. Game doesn't have to be long, but it has to comprise a multitude of meaningful decision points. And that kind of goes back to the first thing. A 5-minute game isn't going to give you enough decision points to make it a compelling game. So that tends to be later games. Shorter games don't really, although, and we'll discuss some of these as we go along today. There was definitely some, like, trick-taking games probably aren't gonna make the cut here, even though they might be very good games. Or like The Crew, might be an interesting game, but doesn't really have that depth. So there. Then the low luck factor. Winning and losing ultimately should be determined by whomever made the better decisions throughout the game, as opposed to die rolls. With that said, die rolls don't automatically, exclude. We had some spirited discussion on that stuff as well this year. The opacity of decisions in interaction. To what degree do critical decisions within the game have an impact upon the other players? And innovation and uniqueness of the mechanisms and theme. What makes the game stand apart from its contemporaries? That was a big thing during the discussions this year for sure. And finally, the enjoyment factor. I mean, I'm not going to necessarily call it the fun factor, because not every game that is enjoyable is fun. Those are two separate things. Plus, what's fun for somebody might be work for somebody else, and vice versa. More spirited discussion on that. Although the more fell on that side, I'll talk about the discussion as we go along. So there we go. Reprints are ineligible. The first year that a game is physically available is the year that it'll be considered for inclusion. There was some debate about a game like Autobahn, which technically, according to BGG, has a release of 2022. Nope. Didn't get released until 2023, so we are considering it 2023. So just as an example, okay? And each year around the beginning of April normally, and then the finalists are announced in person at HeavyCon. All right? So that's it. That's the criteria. Now, as y'all can see in the chat there, I asked what would be your finalists for each year, and there's obviously everything here is subjective, okay? But I feel pretty good about the list that we came up with, and I think I can say that some years are far easier than others to come up with these lists, and we're gonna miss people's favorites. People are gonna be like, "What? That doesn't belong," and but 'tis what it is. All right. All right, so without further ado, although I feel like that was a lot of adoing, here we go. We'll do this chronologically, all right? So starting with 2020, and I have my little spreadsheet here. We considered approximately 40 games, okay, on this list. Now, not everybody has played every game that is on this list. Some only had a handful, but the interesting thing to note is even if only a handful of the people had played it, if they could make a strong enough argument for it, then it got included. So we'll do this, I guess, alphanumerically, I guess is a better way to put it, to go ahead and talk about these. All right, so first up, I want to make sure that I don't accidentally reveal too much. We will go Beyond the Sun, designed by Dennis K. Chan and published by Rio Grande Games. This recently came out with an expansion. We didn't consider the expansion when considering Beyond the Sun. We only thought about the base game only, and this was a pretty easy choice, it seems. This was a pretty universal one on this one. So congrats to Dennis and Rio Grande. Next up, and I'm going to be following the chat a little bit here as we go along. I mean, this is for posterity, but it's also going to be interactive between y'all and me. All right. So, all right. So first up, Beyond the Sun. I'm doing this gingerly to making sure I don't reveal more than I should at a given time. Okay. Next up is Dual Gauge, designed by Amabel Holland and published by Hollandspiel. Hollandspiel is an American company, by the way. And yeah, this one got some spirited debate. This got some interesting discussion. But it's definitely one person on the group said, while it's nowhere near an 18xx game, if I were to ever want to play something of that ilk, it would be dual gauge, even though they're not necessarily apples to apples comparison. So found that interesting. Yeah, so congrats, Amabel and Hollenspiel. This next one kind of took me a little bit by surprise that this was on so many lists, and that is Fayum. Designed by Freedom and Freeze, published by 2F Spiele, as well as Rio Grande Games. Now, I mean, the tagline, if you will, medium and heavy board games, war games, 18xx games for heavy cardboard. So this clearly falls in the medium category of things. But yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised that this one got as much love as it did amongst the group. All right. So following along with the chat, or I guess here. So there we go. All right. So that was Fayum. So congrats there. All right. The next one I think is probably an obvious choice for a lot of folks. Imperial Struggle, designed by Jason Matthews and Ananda Gupta, published by GMT Games. This is the follow-up to Twilight Struggle. But very much its own game. This, I feel like, was also kind of a no-brainer for those that have played it. We haven't streamed it. We've played it, but we haven't streamed it yet. And I think Ken and I have plans to do so sooner rather than later, having gotten a couple of games under our belt on this. So, yeah. Yeah, so congrats there. And then up next is On Mars, designed by Vital Lacerda, published by Eagle Griffin Games. Y'all know how I feel about the solo. I wasn't a real big fan of the solo, but the multiplayer definitely. This is a lot of people's favorite Vital Lacerda game, I found out. So this was cool to be able to hear the discussion about all of these. And so with that said, let's see here. There you go. Those are your finalists for the 2020 Golden Elephant Award. All right, so yeah, I'll take a minute and let y'all discuss and give your thoughts on what that on the obvious misses, or oh my, I can't believe those got included. So I'm curious to see, yeah, I'm curious to see people's opinions. So some of the ones that aren't on here that folks, I'll highlight a couple here. 18 Chesapeake got discussed a lot, and I think the general consensus was it's essentially 1830 smaller. And so does it do anything really new, anything different? And it was a really, really interesting and spirited debate on this, and not debate, more discussion on that one. So that came up quite a bit. Let me see. Lost Ruins of Arnak had some discussion as well. And there are others that I'm not going to highlight every single one, but Praga Kaput Regni is another one that had some discussion about it, I think is a good way to put it. Versailles 1919 also did. The Vote did. The Cost, Tekenu. Yeah, so yeah, all right. But there you go. So those are your finalists, or our finalists, I guess, for the herd, the 2020 Golden Elephant Award. So these are your finalists, as I said. Now, the winner hasn't been determined yet, to be clear. By the end of tonight, we're supposed to have everybody's votes for this. And so we don't know who's going to who's going to win. But this will be announced in person at HeavyCon later on this week, which is insane that this is later on this week. So that is what we're looking at there. Let's do that. There we go. All right. So far, I haven't spoiled anything. Yay. So congrats to all the 2020 folk games and stuff. All right. All right. So up next, obviously, 2021. Let me get this all laid out and ready for y'all. All right. 2021. So let's see. We will close that one. Bring this one up. There we go. 2021 had, we spent a lot of time on 2021. I'll say that. All right. This, I think, is going to have the most discussion amongst yourselves as well, I think. All right. 2021 was definitely a interesting, this was hard. So we had almost 50 games discussed, or maybe not discussed, but realistic ones to be able to choose from. So how we did that, and I'm drawing this out a little bit, but that's all right. Y'all are fine. We're having fun here. How we did this is we went through, so BGG's search engine has a couple of known bugs, so FYI. How we originally did this is we went into the advanced search, we set a weight rating of 2.5, which is low, granted, but 2.5 to 5, maybe it was 2.3, somewhere around there, up to 5, and omitted like party games and omitted children's games, and omitted expansions, and then hit search and then sorted them. What we noticed is games like Ark Nova don't show up, and a host of other games didn't show up, and we were like, okay, this is really weird. So what we ended, and also set the criteria for the year, like 2021 to 2021, just to be able to highlight those games. So if you were to go onto BGG and do that, you'll notice that like certain games don't show up. And we were like, okay, something's not right here. So what we did is we basically just omitted the weight ratings and all the other filters and just looked at 2021 and then sorted them by most popular and then went a lot of pages deep and then came up with our list of games. Then everything shows up. So just FYI. But that is how Shrey and myself specifically went through and made a pretty comprehensive list. And we had almost 50 games for 2021. And the games that made the finalist cut, this was definitely the hardest year of the 3 to come up with a group of finalists. Starting off with Atlantic Chase, designed by Jeremy White, published by GMT Games. Atlantic Chase, I personally have not played yet, and this is my probably my biggest miss. I think the fact that I personally have not played this one yet. I want to so desperately bad. Has a really, really fascinating way of how the hidden movement works in this game for, well, hunting the ships. And the folks that voted for it thought absolutely, if there is a game this year that I'm going to fight for strong to be on the list, it was Atlantic Chase, and here we are. So, congrats there. Next up, we have Brian Boru, High King of Ireland, designed by Pierre Sylvester, published by Osprey Games, as well as others. So now this one had an interesting discussion about, was there enough here? Was it heavy enough? Right? Again, everything here is subjective. And this hit on almost everybody's list. However, even though it was on almost everybody's list, folks were, I don't want to say reticent or hesitant, but they were questioning, is it heavy enough? Is there enough meaty decisions? Is there enough depth there to include it? And after a fair bit of discussion, we came to the decision, the group decision of yes, yeah, it fits. Yeah, so there we go. So hence Brian Baru made the cut. All right, next up we have, this one came as a surprise to me. Dominant Species Marine, designed by the late Chad Jensen, published by GMT Games. I'm noticing a lot of GMT games. I just realized that this is the fact, but it is. Some people felt very strongly that this replaced Dominant Species for them. I don't necessarily agree with that statement personally. I think it is a good standalone game. I think I'm glad it exists, but for me, Dominant Species has a near and dear special place in my heart. As y'all know, it's one of my favorite games, even if I don't get a chance to play it all the time. But this had very strong opinions by a number of folks. And so some folks were saying that they had gotten rid of the original Dominant Species in favor of Dominant Species Marine, having played them both. So, yeah, all right. But, yeah. All right. So, that is Dominant Species Marine. And next, probably to the surprise of exactly 0 people, Oath, Chronicles of Empire in Exile, designed by Cole Worley, published by Leader Games. It's an odd duck, right? There's not anything really out there that is like Oath at all. We have our very slow campaign going on that we've streamed. I think we are 6, maybe 7, I can't remember, games of it on the streams. Obviously, we're pretty big fans of the game, and this was a pretty big no-brainer for us. So yeah, that is your 2021 Golden Elephant Award finalists. Okay? Yeah, so thoughts on the 2021. Now, like I said, there are a lot of games that got some discussion on this, and I'll hit on some of them. Ankh, Gods of Egypt, Ark Nova, Bitoku, Coffee Traders, Corrosion, Conquest and Consequence, Final Girl, Gutenberg, Hadrian's Wall, Imperial Steam, Korra, Nicaea, Origins, Pax Vikings, Seize the Bean, among others. But those were kind of the main ones that had a fair bit of discussion on there. So yeah, 2021 was a hard year, really, really tough to come up with finalists, and there were so many strong opinions. So I'm curious on y'all's opinions on where you would fall on 2021 and whether or not you think we got it right for the finalists. I'm curious to see where things shake out with on the winner on that one. Okay? So, all right, let's get back to it now. That is 2021. Congrats to all of them, all of the finalists. And now we have 2022. The one where we're basically on time for. Finally. Okay. Yes, 4 finalists in 2021 is the fewest ever picked for the award. I am glad that we were able to get 4. It was, there were very strong opinions, both for and against a number of games. And yeah, 2021 might have been one of the hardest years to ever pick finalists for. Okay. So yeah, the probably the game that had some of the most discussion about, I'm not going to say debate, but discussion, was Ark Nova. That's probably going to be the one obvious one, I think, that people are going to be like, wait, what? So understood. We'll discuss it, I'm sure. Okay. All right. So here we go. 2022 Golden Elephant Award finalists. We have, probably to the surprise of exactly, again, 0 people, we have Carnegie, or Carnegie, depending on how you want it pronounced, designed by Xavier Georges and published by Quinted Games. This was probably the closest to a no-brainer. I feel like there were 2, I think, this year that were absolute. I know they were going to be finalists just given how popular and how much folks really enjoyed their plays of it. So Carnegie was a like I said, was a no-brainer on this one. All right. The next one, maybe a bit of a surprise. Deal with the Devil, designed by Matus Kotri, I think, and published by Czech Games Edition. This is one of, it's unique. There is nothing like it. There is nothing that does a hidden role game quite like Deal with the Devil. And it works really well. And so, yeah, this felt like a minor surprise that it was going to be named a finalist, but I'm pleased to see it, honestly, personally. It was on my personal list, and so congrats there. Here, the next up is probably the least surprising game on this list, period. And that's going to be John Company, 2nd edition, designed by Cole Worley, published by Whirligig Games. Yes, it's a 2nd edition. It is much like PAX Premier 2nd edition. It is its own animal. It's different enough. We felt that it very much deserved inclusion here, because reprints we don't, and some 2nd editions don't really do much, or re-implementations or whatnot change it enough, and we felt this was a significant enough change to where, yeah, and this is definitely one of the most popular games 2022, both for us as well as, well, a lot of y'all, I think. All right, so congrats to Cole again. All right, the next one, a bit of a surprise. At least it was to me that this got on so many people's lists. Marrakesh, designed by Stefan Feld and published by Queen Games. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I did not go back through all the years, going back to 2013, I think was the first year for the Golden Elephant Award. This is the first Stefan Feld that made it. So, yeah. So, yeah, that was a bit of a surprise because, I mean, let's face it, Stefan Feld definitely falls in the light to medium category, but this felt like a meaty enough and just really enjoyable, almost universal for the group as far as having this on their list. So thought that was a bit of a surprise to me personally, but glad to see its inclusion. That was cool. All right, and next up, Perseverance, published by Mind Clash Games and published by, or designed by Richard Amon, Thomas Van Ginst, Victor Peter, Wolf Plunk, and David Terzi. So yeah, this was on a surprising amount of folks' lists as well. So Perseverance, Castaway Chronicles, episodes 1 and 2 to be technical. Yeah, so congrats there. And next up, Weather Machine, designed by Vital Lacerda, published by Eagle Griffin Games. I've yet to see the published version. I've yet to see the final edition of it. But a lot of folks seem to have really enjoyed this one. And so here we are, Weather Machine, making the list. And let's get that there. So we have our 2022 finalists for the Golden Elephant Award, Deal with the Devil, or Carnegie, Deal with the Devil, John Company, Marrakesh, Perseverance, and Weather Machine. So to recap, 2020, we have Beyond the Sun, Dual Gauge, FAM, Imperial Struggle, and On Mars. So congrats there. Then in 2021, we have Atlantic Chase, Dominus Species Marine, Brian Baru, and Oath. And finally, in 2022, we have Carnegie, Deal with the Devil, John Company, Marrakesh, Perseverance, and Weather Machine. All right, so that's where we fell on all of these. There we go. That's where we ended up. I am very, very interested to hear y'all's top games, either there in chat or if it's after the fact, down in the comments down below. Let us know. Shoot us emails. Tell us what we got right, what we got wrong. We want to hear it all. The finalists will be announced, as I said, later on Friday in person at HeavyCon. Plus, the People's Choice Award will also be announced on Friday at HeavyCon because it's getting voted on by the attendees. And then we're ramping up, getting ready to be on time for 2023. So a big, big thank you to all of you. A huge thank you to all of the patrons that helped make all of this possible. If you all enjoyed it, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Consider supporting the show right there. Patreon.com/HCHQ. Really, really appreciate it. Really looking forward to seeing how this plays out as far as the finalists. I have no idea. And I see somebody here made the comment that, what was it about Cole? Cole might be winning 3 of the last 4 Golden Elephant Awards. It could happen. I mean, I don't want this to be the Vital/Cole Worley award. But 2023 is going to be a really interesting year. I'm really excited to see how this plays out. But again, thanks to everybody. Certainly appreciate the support. Hopefully y'all have enjoyed the work we've been doing here on Heavy Cardboard. We're looking forward to another year of it. And for those that are coming to HeavyCon, hey, we'll see you in a couple days. And for those that aren't, we'll see you on a stream maybe tonight. We're busting out some Age of Steam. Looking forward to that. So y'all take care. Be kind to one another. We'll see y'all later. And watch Twitter and other places for the announcement Friday for your winners for the Golden Elephant Award for 2021-22. Take care, everybody. Thanks. Bye.